afternoon. Welcome everyone to today's June 1st City of Columbia Board of Zoning Appeals. I am John Gregory, Chair for the board, and will be serving as chair for today's meeting. At this time, I'd like to introduce the other members of the board, starting with Vice Chair, Catherine Finner to my left, Celia McIntosh on the end, Davis Whittle to my right, and Marcellus Promise on the other end. Also like to introduce Erica Hyen. She is our sole zoning administrator up here today, so thank you for filling in. And Sky Robinson Barnes, Land Use Board Coordinator. The board is charged with hearing applications for special exceptions, variances, and administrative appeals. All testimony is recorded for the record, and anyone wishing to speak will need to be sworn in and come to the podium to speak. No testimony may be taken from the floor. When you come to the podium, please state your name and please speak clearly into the microphone because this meeting is being recorded. Applicants with cases before the board are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the board or staff regarding the case. Any member of the public may address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if by a spokesperson for an established body of group of 3 or more. The applicant then can come back up to the podium and has 5 minutes for rebuttal. This board reserves the right to amend these limits on a case-by-case basis. All right, so we're about to swear in any of those who are here and wish to speak. So those of you who do plan to speak must be sworn. If you are here as an applicant or here to speak in any case, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. All right, thank you. Do you affirm or attest that the testimony that you will give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. You can sit down. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Hyen.
Good afternoon. I'm Erica Hyen, the Deputy Zoning Administrator. I am going to review the consent agenda at this time. First thing on the consent agenda is the approval of the May 4th, 2023 minutes. 17 Windmet Drive, special exception to expand a place of worship. Next item on the consent agenda is a variance 20230016V 1709 Smith Street and Southeastern Beltway, a variance to the interior parking landscape areas. Next on the agenda, a special exception 20230017 SE 1709 Smith Street and Southeastern Beltway, a special exception to permit an alternative parking service. The last item on the consent agenda, special exception, a variance for 20230018B, 120 Youth Services Road, a variance to the interior parking landscape areas. At this time, if anybody, a board member or a member of the audience would like an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda, you can.
Yes, ma'am. We're about to vote on the minutes from last month's meeting and also the items, the cases on the consent agenda. And so if anyone wishes to speak on those cases, now is the time to do so because we're about to vote on it. What's that? Yeah, will you please come to the podium? Will you state your name, please?
I'm Monica Woods. I'm a resident of Northwood Hills community,
Okay.
and I would like to see if you can remove that from the consent to the regular agenda, so our neighborhood can explore that some more. Right now, that's a residential area, and we're not, really sure if we want to expand to a church being in our neighborhood. And
Okay.
that is directly across from me. I will look out my door and see a church.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica, to move it to the regular agenda, do we need to vote on it, or can we just move it? We can just move it,
I
correct?
think we can just move it to the end
Yeah,
of the
let's
regular agenda.
Let's take
and we'll come
that
back
case
to
and
it.
move it to the regular agenda.
Right.
So you need a motion?
All right, anyone else like to speak before we make a motion on this? All right, yeah, I'd like to hear a motion if someone is ready.
I move that we approve, subject to the consent agenda, subject to the removal of the case on Winmet Drive, subject to staff comments.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I think we are moving Winmet to the regular agenda, so do
Right.
we need to reference it in the consent agenda motion?
I think we need to reference that it's being moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Okay.
So I move that we move the Winmet case from the regular consent agenda to the regular agenda and approve all other items on the consent agenda, subject to staff comments.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So if all those, we just voted on the cases on the consent agenda. If any of y'all are here for that, you're welcome to leave if you'd like to. You can stay as well, but. Okay,
We need Winmet.
yeah,
Right, we'll move on to the regular agenda.
yeah.
The first case on the regular agenda is a special exception, 1818 McFadden Street. It's a special exception to permit a barber shop as a home occupation. The applicant is here.
Hey, good afternoon. Just, yeah, please state your name for the record. Yeah.
My name is John Mender Jr., and I preside at 1818 McFadden Street.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to put a one-chair cutting area in my house, not with a whole bunch of traffic. And if you would like to get your hair cut, you would have to call me in advance. I don't want a whole bunch of traffic in my neighborhood, and I don't want anybody in my neighborhood. I would just like to cut hair to those who need hair cutting until I'm able to proceed me another place.
Okay. I think that's,
Yeah, obvious.
you have a question for him? I think it's pretty straightforward. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would also like to say, it's not gonna be like open every day. Maybe like in the afternoon. So, it won't disturb the neighbors.
Yeah, I think I saw in your application you were going to be open till 7 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, all right, thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Before we get into board discussion, anybody here from the public wish to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Good afternoon. Would you
Good
please state your
afternoon.
name for the record?
My name is Alexina Irving Fergus.
Okay.
I live in the same neighborhood, in fact, a street over. And we live in a residential neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood. We don't have sidewalks. The streets are very narrow. And on McFadden Street, there's no parking, no space for parking. And the neighbors our neighbors in the neighborhood have signed this petition, all have signed it, saying they do not wish to have a commercial business in our residential neighborhood, in that it would reduce the value of our homes. It would endanger the children who walk from the schools home because there's no sidewalk. They walk in the middle of the street, and the street is narrow. Sometimes if two cars are on the street, one will have to pull aside and wait for the other to pass. We don't want a business in our neighborhood. And I'm telling you, one chair in a barber shop means nothing. My father had a barber shop for 50 years, and towards the end of his experience as a barber, of course, he was quite old by that time, he had one chair in his shop, but there were always 2 or 3 people waiting, and of course, there were cars outside waiting for the owners of the cars to drive away. And we don't want to change the nature of our neighborhood. We want it to be residential. Our neighborhood is unique in that youngsters can start at preschool and walk from preschool until college. And that's unique. We have a preschool, we have an elementary school, we have a middle school, we have a high school, and we have 2 colleges right in our neighborhood. And we really, as you can see from the signatures on this list, do not wish to have or to change it in any way from residential to commercial. So I'm asking that you listen to us and listen to the people in our community and think too whether you would want a business next to your home and see, what you think about that. So can I answer any questions you might have?
Erica, have we seen that petition, or that's the new? Okay. Can we pass that to us? Okay. Well, he'll get a chance for rebuttal. We can ask him then.
The thing that concerns me is that, we have no problem with the young man having a business. But as I told you, my father's business, and he raised 5 kids as a barber. His barber shop was right downtown. I'm going to tell you that when anybody came in, although there's one chair, the next person that came in needing a haircut, guess what he told them? You're next. If you had 2 people next, you're next. You're third. You got 2 people in front of you. So there's no such thing in a barbershop as saying, I'm only going to let one person in the door. You know that, right? No such animal.
I do have one question. Have you had a chance to talk to Mr. McFadden about this prior to today?
It's McFadden Street.
Or
No,
to
I
the-
haven't.
sorry,
I'm
to the
president
applicant.
I'm president of the community, and I also have a business across Two Knot Road. So it's not like, I have a lot of time, and this has just been a busy, busy time with me. No, we haven't had an opportunity to talk to him,
Okay.
but I'm sure that he knows and that we do not want to change our residential area from residential to commercial. And you let one commercial entity in, and that means that anyone else coming with a desire to have a business in the community should have the opportunity also. And we don't want the value of our homes going down.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Mender. Yes, sir. So we'll have a chance to ask questions for him, but you have 5 minutes for a rebuttal if you'd like to speak to that at all.
Okay, I understand what Ms. Burgess is saying. I understand the barber industry. I've been cutting hair for almost 20 years, but that's not my purpose because I'm only gonna have one person and they can park inside my driveway. I'm not looking to have 2 and 3 cars up and down the road. One car that's parked inside my driveway after it here is cut. I don't have 2 or 3 people waiting to say, oh, you're next, and it's not gonna be open to the public. It's not gonna be saying, oh, well, my friend got a barber shop, you can go over there. No, it doesn't work that way. I have respect for the neighbors, and I love my neighbors. I don't have no problem with it. I just want to do this until I'm able to move forward. It's right now is if anybody come through the neighborhood, they will understand it's a quiet neighborhood and it's no problem. You won't see a whole bunch of cars parked there. And it's one, like I said, only one car in my driveway, no more than one person. I'm not looking to have 2, 3 per people and waiting and stuff like that and staying open all night long. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to get people in on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, maybe like 4:30 to 7. On Friday, maybe like from up until 4 o'clock. And that's it. I'm not trying to stay open, cut hair all night, and do that.
Sure. Okay. I think Mr. Sherrard had a question for you. I'm gonna let him.
Why go through, I'm just curious as to why to go through this process instead of just doing it without going through the process? Why did you choose to do it formally?
Why did I choose to go through?
Process of making it a barbershop instead of just having someone in the past like your number one friends. You could have easily did that, but why did you choose to do it formally?
Because the way I was raised up, I want to do stuff in correct order. I don't want to do stuff like you have a lot of people coming through people houses and 3 or 4 people you have waiting and stuff. And I'm not looking to do that. I want to do things in order in a proper way. And like I said, I want to start as like I said, one chair. I don't want 2 and 3 people in the area. And so that's the reason I went through the challenge because I want to do stuff legal in the right way.
My second question was, it sounded like you mentioned something earlier that this was a temporary. Can you say more about that? Are you implying that you had a shop before and you're looking for another shop and this is kind of a temporary solution to maybe keep some clients as you're doing that? Is that what this is? Can you say more about it?
Yes, I was in a building and all of a sudden I had a business partner and the guy decided to sell the building. And it wasn't a big building and my partner, he was saying, okay, well, he decided to sell the building. So I said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. So my next thing was, I prayed about it and then I said, well, for a temporary part. Just want to put here a one-chair shop that I have people call, and it's not a walk-in, not advertising. There's a putting a barber pole, put hours on the door and stuff like that, and till I'm able to grow. And then when I'm able to grow, I'm still not looking to get a big clientele. I'm maybe looking to get just a little suite with maybe about just me, with maybe if I do have same process with maybe about 2 to 3, if that.
So you're saying this is a temporary solution?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a question, sir. Sir? Mr. Mender. I have a question. Would you be willing to agree that you would only allow parking in your driveway, that you would not have any signage, and that it would only be by appointment only?
Yes, ma'am, I would agree.
Okay,
And I would sign any paper.
great. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mender, I'm sorry. Do you know if there are any other barbers or beauty salons sort of within the neighborhood that are operating in a similar way?
Not as I know of. I mean, if there is probably in the Two Notch Road area. In that area where it's a lot of walk-in clients and maybe like 3 or 4 barbers in the area. But as for, other than that, I don't know them, but, I'm assuming in the area, I've seen drive down the street and I've seen a barber pole, and maybe about 3 or 4, and I don't know if it's open, but just further up tonight.
Microphone on?
Do you plan to have employees?
No, sir.
Be just you?
Yes, me.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Thank you.
The public floor is closed. Yeah. The public floor is closed. Yep. You had your chance. So, yes, ma'am. Come to the podium real quick. Yeah.
And it may be, but.
The floor is closed.
sign-
I'll
pardon?
allow one question. The floor is
Okay,
closed.
the sign was put up in the yard one evening. The next morning, the sign was covered with a black garbage bag. That afternoon, the sign was totally removed. So a lot of people who would have been here today didn't come because they thought that this was rescinded, that everything was closed. Did you guys take the sign down?
No, ma'am. All right, thank you for your question. Will you please be seated? We're about to move
Is
to
that the
voice.
norm?
We did not do that. No, I'm going to ask Eric, I'm going to ask our zoning team if they knew of that once you sit down.
The sign was removed the next day.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Erica, do you know anything about that sign? Or
The signs should not be removed. They're supposed to be posted like 15 days before the meeting. It's advertised in the Columbia Star and, of course, on the website, the agenda and the draft agenda.
Were you aware of any issues with the sign?
Didn't know the sign was down.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can I make an observation?
Yeah.
It would seem that we've certainly got evidence that there's plenty of people who were aware that this was going on, and we have an extensive petition, so it didn't seem to lack for notice. But Erica, is that going to be an issue if the sign was removed?
We posted the sign many times with rainstorms, they fall down. We might get notified, we replace them when we know.
Mr. Mender, will you please come to the podium for another question? I'll ask him. Did you know about the sign, or did you remove the sign?
Yes, sir. It was the sign placed. I came home and it was the sign in the middle of my yard. I took the sign and I kept the sign there, but I just moved it in a different area. And I still have the sign. And I moved it in a different area. I didn't have it in the middle of my yard because it was just whoever put it there, they put it in the middle of my yard. And just for my grass purposes, wait a minute.
Where did you move it to?
Yeah, where'd you move it to?
Sir?
Where did you move the sign to?
I moved it right there by my driveway. It was an area right there where it can go in the ground, right there.
Okay. Thank you. Sit down. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Erica, this is a new one for me. What do we do when a sign's moved like that?
If the sign's all the way back by his front door, as long as you can see it from the right of way, if you're driving down the road, it just needs to be seen. I hope it was somewhere that you can see. If it's in the backyard, obviously not good.
Yeah.
If it's somewhere in the front, it should be fine.
You didn't. All right. Yeah, let's move. We're going to move into board discussion for now. So let's open it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the habit of, when we have on the agenda items, to ride by the locations, just to get a good idea. And I rode down McFadden Street. I didn't see the sign at all. I knew from the address 1818 that it was the subject of this case, but I didn't see it. Maybe.
Okay.
I got a motion then.
I want to make a suggestion that we maybe make a motion to defer this. It might allow Mr. Mender in the neighborhood to talk about this case a little bit more, but at the very least, it'll allow the sign to be properly displayed for the time, the 15 days leading up to the case. So that's my suggestion.
I'm going to support that, John. It really makes me feel uncomfortable when it's situations like this. The two parties just haven't talked. And I'm really personally feel kind of weird because I see all of these, and even though the lady that spoke that was with the neighborhood having, there's a ton of people. And it seems like he's willing to comply with the request that she was making. I'm in agreement with what you're saying. I think
Deferred. Deferred.
deferred, I'm sorry. I think it should be deferred. My apologies for the record. I'm sorry.
Catherine?
I move that we defer so that it can be properly, the sign may be properly posted.
Okay, we have a motion. Davis, did you want to make a comment before we ask for a second, or
I agree to defer to allow the parties to speak.
do you want to be the second?
Second.
All right, so what we're about to do, we're about to vote on deferring this a month, so until next month's case. And Mr. Mender, if this carries, please don't touch the sign and, next time. Just let it be there. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So we're deferring it to next month. Yeah, thank you all. All right, moving on to the next special exception case. Is the applicant here to speak? Yes. All right, please come forward.
My name's James Bigby, B-I-G-B-Y, and I'm here to get a special variance for a liquor store, retail liquor store, in the Pavlov's, the old Pavlov's building, which is located at 2000 B Green Street in 5 Points. And I guess it's a special variance that I'm asking for.
Special exception.
Yeah, special exception. Thank you so much. So that's really what I'm hearing. I think I don't really have a fancy presentation or anything. I think I'm probably here more to answer concerns or questions from the panel and the public. Most of what I've heard from online has been good. In the neighborhood. Let me just give you a history about myself. I operate Salty Nut Cafe, which is in the same parking lot. It's in the building right in front of the building that is in question. I've operated for 20 years, and it's a pretty good business. I also started Zaz Brick Oven Pizza on Divine Street in '97, and I sold it in 2015. I'm also a realtor with South Carolina. On the bar, realtor. So that's my history. The building's kind of in rough shape right now, but it's gonna be a total facelift, paint. All the doors, metal doors, gonna be replaced with paneled glass doors with like plate glass, door entry systems. The color is going to be different, but it's going to look a lot. It's going to look a lot better than what it looks like now. Are y'all familiar to how it looks like? Okay, it's kind of it's kind of an eyesore. So we've got that going on. So it's going to look more like a retail location, so to speak, than just a bar. The awning's going to come down. Get rid of that, and then part of the deck. The wood deck, it's going to be replaced, taken out. It's going to be demoed to make room for extra parking. That'll have probably 5 to 8 designated spaces for the location. Biggest concern that I heard about, I think somebody online had said they were worried about the intersection there on Green and Lawrence and the traffic coming in and out of there. We don't anticipate any traffic problems. We're thinking maybe 5 to 10 people an hour coming in, which is not all that much. It's not going to be a Costco or anything like that. So I don't anticipate any problems with any kind of traffic jams on Green Street. And there's also a secondary entrance on Blossom Street down by the railroad tracks. So people can access it that way. So that has 3 ingresses and egresses. What else? We're not gonna, as far as what we're gonna sell, we're just gonna sell liquor only, wine and liquor. We're not gonna do lottery tickets. And hours of operation are pretty standard.
You said you're also gonna do wine?
Yes, you can do wine and liquor on one side, and then, maybe you can do beer on the other side. You have to have 2 separate entrances. So it's gonna be kind of like a Morganelli's. I don't know if you're familiar with Morganelli's. In Forest Acres. And I think it's going to be a good addition to 5 Points. There's not a liquor store in 5 Points at this time. Any questions? Gervais, yes. Oh, yeah, it's kind of on the edge. And then there's one on Hardin and Rosewood. And that one's kind of not really in 5 Points. That's and then the other one would be Greens down on Gervais.
And they also sell wine at the gourmet shop.
I'm sorry?
Don't they sell wine at the gourmet shop?
I think they might have a wine, retail wine in there. I think so. But our main focus is going to be on the bottled liquor, but we will have a wine selection.
And you will have beer also?
Well, we'll have enough space on the other side. You have to have two separate entrances, so part of it, about 800 square feet, we're going to use as temporary storage. And then if things go well, we might look at opening up, selling beer on that side. But we don't anticipate, you have to go through a whole nother process of getting a whole nother liquor license and just totally different liquor license to do that. And we've been approved by the South Carolina Department of Revenue for conditional approval. And so what they do is they send SLED out, and they have to look at the building, and they have to look at your floor plan, and it's basically got to look like a liquor store. I mean, it can't be selling anything else out of it. You can only have certain entrances, certain number of public accesses into the building. So they're going to have to come out and approve it, and it's pretty regulated.
Is there going to be designated parking for the liquor store versus Salty Nut that's got signage showing that?
Yes, there'll be, where the deck is now, we're going to cut that, demo about half that deck back to the covered area, and there'll be 5 to 8 additional parking spaces right there that'll be labeled for Tilly's. So, and that'll be signs over there for that.
Why aren't you taking the whole deck out?
There's part of it that's covered, and so we don't really know. It's kind of, if we don't need to take it out, we're not really going to take it out at this point. Now, if we take out half of it and it doesn't look right, we'll end up taking the rest of it out. That's just going to see, we won't really know how it's going to look until we take out the front half that's not covered.
But if you leave it there, then that provides a place for people to loiter?
No, there's not going to be any loitering, and we'll make sure that there's 20. The building has 22 cameras in it, and so right now, and we can always add more, but it's so close to there. It's not going to. We're not going to have tables and chairs out there or anything like that. So it just I guess for a lack of tearing it all out at once, I guess we can just tear it back. But we can always put a door there to where people can't get on it, can't access it. Because the only time we would need to access it if we're pulling something out of storage.
My question's more, not really with the building, but with the use. Have you talked to USC or some of the neighborhoods around you at all, and what's been their feedback?
Yes, I did. I told them Five Points Association sent me a email, and with all the heads of the surrounding neighborhoods, I think there was about 5 or 6 of them. And she just encouraged me to send out an email to all the presidents or whoever's the head of the associations, and I did that. Shandon, I guess it's Wheeler Hill, a couple of other ones, can't remember them all, but and I explained in my email exactly kind of our plans, and if anybody had any, I wanted to talk to me about it on an individual basis or had any questions or concerns, to email me or call me. I put my phone number on there, and so I haven't received any calls or any emails back with any kind of concerns. I talked to Heather McDonald at the Five Points Association earlier today around 12, and she indicated that she was not getting any blowback or any kind of concerns, and that they're pretty much Five Points Association is they're fine with it.
John, I'd like to, at this point, say I am the president of the University Hill Neighborhood Association. When I got the email, I immediately looped in our vice president, John McGill, and removed myself from all discussion about it. So I don't know what my neighborhood's position is on this one way or the other.
Okay.
So that's a Laurel Hill, that's a
University Hill.
University Hill.
University Hill, okay, yeah, I know that is, yeah. So, and we're not gonna sell like the cheap, I guess, high alcohol content liquors in small bottles that people brown bag and for immediate consumption as soon as they walk out the door. That's just not, I mean, I'm in the business right in front of it, so it's like I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna jeopardize my business. It is just, that would just be, it wouldn't be a wise thing to do.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bigby. Does anybody have any questions for him before we all good? All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak against? Yes, sir. Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Jim Daniel. I live in the Wheeler Hill Neighborhood Association. I think you have received a copy of the letter I sent to the FOI person, the City of Columbia, on Tuesday, requesting information on Mr. Bagley, Mr. Bigley, Pavlos, JCB Operating Company, and JCB Operating Company, Inc., from 1997 to 2010. I have not received a response, and I'm assuming it's going to be several weeks before we do that. So I would ask for postponement of this matter until we get a response from them. Just historical, I'm president of Wheeler Hill Neighborhood Association. I don't remember getting anything from Mr. Bigby. I've chatted with Wells Garden in Rosewood, Hollywood Hills, and they didn't mention anything. But be that as it may, this location and this operator have a pretty notorious history in 5 Points. Pavlov's was one of the worst young bars for young students in Columbia. Dick Putlin led the charge along with the neighborhoods around 5 Points to close this bar and others like it that weren't following the South Carolina Constitution that required any facility selling alcohol, liquor, had to have a substantial revenue from food service, which we understand is at least 50%. That's why the 8 bars in most cases all got closed. We'd like to find out more information about this individual. I think we're sort of putting an individual who had some control over Pavlov's for 13 years down into the liquor store business in an area that the neighborhoods are really trying to clean up. And we think we've already got a liquor store at the corner of Rosewood and Hardin. There's the huge one at Greens. There are 2 on Rosewood, and really don't see a need for another one at this location. So I think at this point in time, we would request a deferment to hear back from the city's police department. And it's also a little problematic to get neighborhoods to move quickly on anything. So that's what we have in a nutshell. I can go through item by item if you want me to, but I think at this point in time, I just ask for a deferment rather than going through the 8 or 10 things we think are other issues.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Mr. Daniel? Okay, thank you.
Okay. I reserve the right, if y'all decide not to defer, to come back with the other 6 or 7 items I have some issue with at this location.
Okay, we'll carve that out. Mr. Bigby, do you want to, or before you come up, anybody else from the public wish to comment? Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Will you please state your name for the record?
Sure. My name is Dan Douglas, and I just want to point out some of the things that James has talked to you about. The fact that he's got the Salty Nut Cafe, and he said 20 years. I think it's actually been more than that. But this has been a good business, not only for college students, but also young professionals that eat there at lunch and dinner. The idea of the parking and the hours of operation for this liquor store will work perfectly with his restaurant, that the liquor store will be closed at 7 o'clock, and then that's pretty much the time that the Salty Nut Cafe starts their largest portion of their business during the day. There's been a big push from these neighborhoods in the area to close bars, to close Pavlov's, And that was done, but like James is talking about, wanting to have a retail establishment there that will complement what he has in the front. From a parking standpoint, a traffic standpoint, any kind of retail in a 3,600 square foot building is going to increase traffic a bit. But as James pointed out, with this liquor store concept, it's not going to be any tremendous volume of people all at one particular time. It's going to be spread out over the course of the day. And he mentioned the idea of removing a portion of the deck, but not all of the deck. And I think one of the reasons for maintaining a portion of the deck is that there's a beautiful historic tree in the side of the deck that would remain. But that was the main thing, is and then the building improvements itself. I mean, obviously now it's an eyesore. College kids didn't care what it looked like when they went in there to have their drinks, and James is going to have pride and ownership of this establishment and want to do business with the adjoining neighborhoods. And so it will be improved, the facade will be improved tremendously to coincide with those potential clients.
Okay, that's about all we have time for.
All right, fair enough.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, anybody else wish to speak from the public? Yes, sir. Please come forward. All right, we'll swear you in real quick. All right, let's do this. Do you affirm or attest that the testimony you will give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Will you please state your name for the record?
My name is Joseph Cardinale. I am the owner of Enzo's Italian Specialties in Bar Sasso, right next door to Salty Nut, and I think this is a terrible idea. On a nightly basis, people come out of Salty Nut, they throw beer bottles at our windows while customers are inside of our restaurant dining. Kids urinate on the hill down to the parking lot in between our two buildings. People vomit, people use our patio at night as a toilet. And I just think this is a very bad idea. I've spent 60 to 100 hours a week in that location for the last 34 months, and I feel like I've single-handedly chased off most of the vagrants, the homeless, and the drunks and the drug addicts from that area. I purchased the 5 Points Tobacco Shop next door because they were selling drug paraphernalia, crack pipes, all sorts of terrible things, lottery. The police no longer come to calls when homeless people interact with my guests, when they assault my staff, or they damage our property. So I feel like I've done a lot of work to make 5 Points a bit better, and I think that having a liquor store close to that is going to be just make it so much worse. With the train tracks right there and all the hidden areas, we have a huge problem with vagrants in the area, and I think just having open access to liquor during the daytime is going to make that situation much worse and have a negative impact on the neighborhoods and my businesses.
Okay. Any questions for? Yeah.
You talked a lot about vagrants and students being students. I'm just curious, what specifically do you think, the way that I understood it, he's looking to do as a resort. And I'm unfamiliar with locations like Morinelli. So I'm just curious, as a business owner that's there, could contribute to, based on your knowledge of the area, it maybe disimproving the area or make.
Yeah, I think that I'm not too concerned about the students because kids will be kids, but the people that come to 5 Points at night to panhandle or to cause trouble or they're just coming to have a good time, the homeless people, the vagrants, they can go purchase liquor at this liquor store and there's a million places to hide or loiter or walk around. People regularly walk out of the Salty Nut every night with open containers and go right down the street. The bouncers do not stop them. They throw glass at the windows of my store. I sweep them up and I dump them back on their patio every night. I just think that this will exacerbate the loitering problem and the substance abuse issues that take away from what people like myself are trying to do in 5 Points to improve the neighborhood.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else from the public wish to speak on this? All right, Mr. Bigby, you got 5 minutes to for rebuttal for any of those comments.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to address the JCB Operating Company and then my involvement with Pavlov's. JCB Operating Company was the parent company for Salzburg Oven Pizza, opened up in '97. I kept the corporation dormant just in case I wanted to start another business. So I kept the corporation in good standing with Secretary of State. So that's the shell company or not the shell company, but the company that I'll be using. As far as being involved with Pavlov's, I sold it back in 2010. I subleased it to the guys that had it since then, and it was recently closed. I did not have anything to do with their operations, did not try to tell them how to run their business. They were a late night bar, so they didn't open up till like 8 o'clock and they closed. I think they could stay open past 2 o'clock in the morning. Salty Nut, we don't stay open past 2 o'clock in the morning. Most of the nights we're closed by 12 o'clock unless it's a busy weekend, like a football weekend or something. We'll stay up and do last call at like 1:30. But like I said, most of the time we're closed right at midnight or just after midnight. As far as the students walking up and down the street, I mean, they can be coming from 5 Points back up to. Now, as far as the vagrants go, we're going to do our best. I don't want vagrants or homeless hanging out in our parking lot or in the railroad tracks. And if we see that kind of activity, I mean, remember, we're going to be closed at 7 o'clock. So if we see any kind of activity, somebody, leaving purchasing a bottle of liquor and leaving and then going up on the railroad tracks or any place around there, we'll take care of it and we won't sell them. We won't sell them any more liquor. But I really don't think that's going to happen. So I just think that's a little exaggerated. And if it we could always put a fence up by that railroad track, clean out some of the brush around it, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I want to move into board discussion. Yep. Catherine, you want to start us off?
Oh, yes. Just for the record, I got the email, and as I mentioned, I got it. The email went to info@5pointscolumbia, me, Viv Clark at bellsouth.net, abp2009yahoo.com, F. Adams 408, who I believe is Frank Adams from Wales Garden, Will Brennan, and Erica. So that's who got the email. I came here of two minds. I asked one of the local law enforcement people what his opinion was, and he pointed out that, well, something's going to go there, so this is less offensive than other things that could go there. I am very concerned about a number of things. I'm particularly concerned about the Barsasso testimony. That really got me, and I appreciate your coming and telling us your take on it. I'm not overly, I'm a little concerned that there are open containers leaving Salty Nut, that he's seen leaving the Salty Nut. That weighs against the idea that it's going to be a responsible thing because you are running the Salty Nut. I'm very concerned about that. I think there's a real evidence that this could actually create a nuisance condition because of that. I'm concerned that I don't understand the part about how there's a tree there so you can't demolish the deck. That doesn't quite make any sense. I'm a little concerned that you weren't aware that there was a liquor store at Hardin and Gervais. It's been there for a while now. And I'm also concerned, I have been at Greens. I used to collect Salvation Army money, stuff for the Rotary at Christmas time, and Greens is crazy. It's pretty high traffic. I've only occasionally been to Morganelli's, but I think that this is possibly a more concerning thing, in part because we don't have a commitment that there won't be a beer side, and there is going to be wine being sold. And I think that he says he's going to be selling high-end liquor, but there's no assurance that that, in fact, will be the case. If somebody were to start selling, the little pint bottles that you see the people at Greens coming out with on a Saturday night, could be a way that he pivots his business to without having to come back to us in any way. So I'm concerned about all of those things. I'm very concerned about the traffic issues. It's just, it really is kind of a hairy area in that area. I know that a lot of times people, when the train comes through, they drive down there to go to Blossom Street because then they can go under the underpass. And it's a pretty hairy drive back in there. So I'm just really concerned about a number of things. Particularly, I'm concerned about the traffic. I think they do seem to have plenty of parking, but I'm concerned about vehicular traffic and also pedestrian safety. I'm concerned about a potential nuisance. And we do know that there is a wine store over at the Gourmet Shop, so I think that there is a certain proliferation in that regard as well. So those are my concerns.
Marcellus, you got any thoughts?
Catherine kind of covered her. Thanks, Catherine.
Davis, what you got?
I think the concern for traffic in the parking lot and surrounding area, I'm just looking through the principal use table here. This building could be a grocery store, which I think would probably create about the same amount of traffic. It's permitted use there, so I think that kind of changes my opinion on the traffic issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has a
Well,
thoughts
I think
on
the
that.
traffic on your day-to-day normal business is pretty low. It's those like peak times, game day. That's when you're, when I drive by Greens, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's no big deal, but, So I think it's just being cognizant of the peak times.
Yeah, I think I hear what both of you are saying is more of a traffic issue, which is really my main concern, because I think when it comes to what we're doing here, the special exception, that particular property fits, according to our rules, it's consistent with the character and intent of the underlying zoning district that's there. There's 2 convenience stores within blocks from that location that both sell alcohol, not liquor, but beer. That have been open for years. The College Mart being one, and the Shell gas station being another one. In addition to the Gourmet Shops online, I think a retail liquor store fits right within the character of that. So I'm not as concerned about whether or not this fits that area, because it does. I'm more concerned, I think, about the traffic, because one of the things that we know about, at least I know about liquor stores, whether we're talking about Greens, whether we're talking about Morganelli's, whether we're talking about the place on Rosewood, when it's high traffic, it is crazy. And that's all in a really, really tight area. That's really 2 lanes there. There's 1 lane going down, it doesn't split the 2 lanes till you get to the light going towards Hardin, and then it's 2 lanes, going across that train track there. So I just can't, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how is that location gonna handle that type of traffic on high game days on Friday afternoons, Saturday afternoons, because what we see at a place that has a parking lot as big as Greens or a place that has a parking lot as big as Morganelli's is a traffic jam. And I just can't imagine what that traffic jam would do there on the 2 lanes. So I think that's my one thing that I'm just not quite understanding how they're gonna deal with it, is when it comes to the parking of this area, how are the provisions gonna be made for parking, especially considering what David said, even if you clear that area behind, that's a little tiny, Catherine, a little tiny road right there. That's not enough for traffic. So you only have really one entrance that you can manipulate there. Unless they tear the Salty Nut down and make it all parking, I'm really confused.
I like the salty nut.
I'm just confused about how they're gonna, because I'm kind of with Davis here. I'm not sure how they're gonna do the parking as my concern.
I think my comment was more geared towards the concern about parking and the use of the space being a liquor store with people coming and going, spending 15 minutes in the store and leaving. And you compare it to some of the other approved permitted uses in the space, like a grocery store, for example. That's a very similar time spent in the store, probably almost the same amount of people coming and going. So that was sort of what I was.
But I don't see the same traffic jams at Food Lion on Fridays and Saturdays that I see at Morganelli's and Greens. And I go to Morganelli's and Greens once a month. So.
Interesting. I also would suggest that it would be an extremely small grocery store. It'd probably be more on the lines of Uncle Willie's than Uncle Willie's or something like that. I mean, a cute greengrocer there might be fine, but I think it'd be an extremely small grocery store. So.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it are, certainly I'm looking at the use in the property, which is what we're here to do, look at the use. I do think it's a nuisance, and I do think it adversely affects the public interest. There's been a whole lot of effort in 5 Points to clean it up and to attract different types of businesses, and this is definitely not a bar, liquor store, different concept, but it's sort of along the same lines. And I don't know, I just have a hard time thinking that we're moving forward if we were to approve something like this, but that's why we have a board. And that's why we all vote on it. And
I think it's definitely a move forward. I said I think it's a move forward as compared to,
Pavlov's.
A late night.
I agree. I think it's a move forward.
But at the same time, it's
The
right.
greengrocer, no.
Yeah, right now it's a storage place. And what has moved in since Senator Harpootlian so graciously assisted in challenging the liquor licenses, what's moved in, we've seen a significant increase in shops. I mean, true shops. Like used to be, we've had
some office space too.
Yeah, office space, but also just like people, you can go in and buy gifts and things and stuff like that, which I think is just really a nice thing to see coming back. And I'm concerned that, what's there now is actually storage. It's not Pavlov's. So, storage is a relatively low impact thing, and maybe that's a use for it. If they want to put a greengrocer in, I think that'd be nifty, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, I think, I'm really coming down against it. And then, like I said, I was very concerned when I heard from Gran Sasso, some of the things that he testified to that he's seen, and he's there and running a good business and trying to clean the place up. So
All the bar to shop transitions have not been entirely successful.
Well, yes, there has been an uptick in vape stores, yes.
It's college students.
Yes, that's right.
They're not going to be opening up offices. They're going to be doing what I was doing when I was 19.
Well, when I was at USC, I went to the Joyful Alternative, an incredibly wonderful store. But at any rate, yes, bring it back, please.
I'd go back to like what the Gran Sasso was saying is, I think there's definitely a concern for vagrants and homelessness and drunk people in Five Points. I mean, I've had run-ins in the middle of the day walking to get coffee, and
I don't think liquor store is gonna add to that. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think, well,
it's an issue that 5 Points just has to deal with that's there, whether this liquor store is there or not.
and I would argue that this parcel that we're talking about has done their part in trying to fend off some of the vagrants from at least loitering on their property with the 22 cameras, like they said, to keep people away. And, you know, I think taking a building that is sitting vacant and potentially has hiding spots for people and turning it into an active business like it used to be, I think would enhance their property. But I also realize that would potentially push people down the street and affect the neighborhoods and the neighboring businesses as well, so.
I go back to the testimony we heard that people are leaving the Salty Nut with open containers. The fact that there are cameras is nifty, but it doesn't appear that that's doing anything to actually change, to use, they don't seem to be being used for actual enforcement purposes. You know, you can see things with a camera, but somebody has to do something about it, and it doesn't seem that someone's doing that. I think that Bar Sasso is a real upgrade to the area. I think that, you know, you're right. Some of the businesses are not as upscale as one might like, but there have been other businesses that have moved in. Various gift shops are coming in, or not gift shops, but clothing establishments and retail, true retail in that regard. I'm just really, I think it's a really bad thing. I think that there's a lot of ingress-egress issues. I think Mr. Daniel mentioned in his letter that we got earlier, the issue of what happens when the train comes through and you're trying to turn left or right to get in. I mean, it's a real problem. And traffic comes back to traffic, I think, is one huge thing. And I'm also concerned about the nuisance aspect of it. I think that people do come to a liquor store, and some of them are not necessarily looking to buy Lagavulin or something like that, I think. And I think that, so I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you, Catherine. I don't like the use of this location, but that's my thoughts.
I'd like to make a motion.
Nuisance, affecting the public interest and all the effort and work. I mean, sometimes you gotta make hard decisions, and I get it. Like, I'm a pro-business minded person, but there's been a lot of effort and work to try to clean up 5 Points, and I just don't think approving a liquor store right in the middle of it, I don't think it would support all that effort. And that's just my opinion, so.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I move that we deny the special exception application. I guess I don't actually have to give any reasons, but we specifically citing the issues with traffic, potential nuisance, and I think that's probably enough. Specifically with reference to the traffic and the potential nuisance and adverse impact on public safety and creating nuisance conditions.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, so split 3-3. I don't know what that.
I believe it fails because the applicant has to meet the burden of proof.
So do we need to? Do we need to keep moving until we have a motion that, no? Voice call vote? Okay. So we had a motion and a second, and we're going to do a voice call vote. So start with Marcellus.
I vote yea to deny.
I vote nay to deny.
Yay.
Yay.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
I believe the applicant has failed to meet the burden of proof.
Yeah, let's sum it up like that.
Well, we have
3-3.
attorney, noted attorney, Mr. Harpootlian.
Yeah,
Based on the 3-3, it would have needed an affirmative, so the application is denied.
okay. Thank you. All right, moving to the next case that got rolled off the consent agenda to the regular agenda. I believe this was 517 Winmet Drive, is that correct? Okay. All right, is the applicant here? Okay, will you please, yes, sir, state your name for the record?
My name is Dan Creed with Heritage Engineering. If it pleases the board, I'll speak briefly on the site design, and then the applicant, Mr. Chaudhry Siddiq, can speak to the mission of the place of worship and what he's trying to do in the community.
Okay.
This site was originally developed as a mosque in the early 2000s. In your case history, you'll see that it was a special exception for a place of worship was granted in 2016. As part of that, which we were not the engineer on, the site was master planned, the drainage, the grading, and everything went in at that time to support this building, which is now coming in this phase. As part of this, you can see by the site plan or by the other information in the case that to the south is Amberley Drive and the school. To the west is remaining campus property for the church. To the north is Winmet Drive beyond an undeveloped portion of the campus, and then to the east is similarly zoned property which fronts on Fairfield Road. I look forward to the opportunity to address specific concerns that neighbors may have. But I'll note that the buffer requirements of the new land development ordinance require a 40-foot buffer, which is shown on our site plan, which we propose to reduce in some areas to 20 feet with a 6-foot wall, which will also include an elevation difference because this building will sit down lower, close to the grade of Amberley Drive and lower than the surrounding properties. And Mr. Siddiq can speak to the mission of the church.
Indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Creed.
Just in case we have any.
Good afternoon, Mr. Siddiq.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to explain a little bit about our place of worship. My last name is Sadiq, or you could say Sadiq is fine. And this, the name means truthful. So while speaking about the place of worship, we talk of the faith of Islam, and how we practice the faith, and more importantly, when we put our faith in practice, that is our programs. So we, as Dan said, we've existed there for almost 20 years. Our operation started in the month of Ramadan, 2004. And ever since, we've gradually taken care of, or we've catered for the spiritual and religious requirement, as well as in the USA, back home in the Islamic world, you would have mosques and you'd have your homes. Here, mosque is everything. That means you have your place of worship, you have a complete way of life. So our youth, our families, everyone so that's a part of our mosque. Now, our 20 years have been extremely peaceful. We have grown gradually, and our neighbors as well as same. We've tried to understand our neighbors, get interaction. Now, for the last 4 years, Dan has been a part of our, you could say, infrastructure program, and the city officials as well as us, we've gone, it's been very, very smooth, wonderful. But when I said about my faith is Islam, Islam literally means peace. And Muslim means one who has got peace within and without. And also the second meaning of a Muslim is one who surrenders to the will of Almighty. It's very interesting, meaningful, and also relevant that in this place 6-7 years ago, Mayor Benjamin, he recognized our Muslim community leaders and he threw an event, particularly with a dinner. And as a reply or in response, I suggested, and Mayor Benjamin and I, we stood in 2017 in this council chamber, August chamber, and we had this event. We co-hosted the event, both Mayor Benjamin, myself, event called Understanding Islam and Muslims. So it was extraordinary, and the same event, which is called, or program or presentation called Understanding Islam and Muslims, we've taken it to places from churches to synagogues to town halls, and they've been just record, basically. After the pandemic, we have focused on to law enforcement agencies. All of them, the Columbia Police Department, that means we've taken that program there and they love it. It could be called diversity training, but more importantly, understanding Islam and Muslims. Because truly saying, because of reasons, that they don't answer like media and all, whatever, Islam and Muslims are under radar. So it's important. And so I have been here 20 years plus, and I've seen nothing but, reception for this and total universal accepting of this program, from Columbia Police Department to Sheriff's Department. I know FBI would never listen to an outsider speaking about Islam. They have their own experts, but we were able to have our first program recently after the pandemic with FBI. Not only Columbia, but beyond FBI Columbia, FBI Chicago, a huge office, invited us, and we did the presentation there. Let's just take last 4 or 5 months. Last Saturday, we had an event at our mosque. These are the programs and services. We have a family night every month, and this family night last Saturday, we had a mini seminar on joining our law enforcement as a career. The Columbia Police Department and the Sheriff Department represented. SLED and FBI could not make it. In fact, we are blessed, again I say we're blessed, and my son is in FBI, so he's in FBI Chicago. So he came on the video, virtually participated. So it was just wonderfully accepted. Month of February, we had Black History Month. Prior to that, we had what the Sheriff Department brought in their Citizens Academy to our place of worship. They called it Muslim Citizens Academy. So that was it. And month of Ramadan, which was March, we had Sharing Ramadan. So all in all, we have been indeed, putting our faith in action. Let me also state, if you have internet with you, mosque is like place of worship. And our face is a parallel or partner organization called PICNA, P-I-C-N-A, PICNA.org. It stands for Peace and Integration Council of North America. So all the programs that I mentioned are presented by PICNA, which we had here as well. So the bottom line is PICNA programs will show us in 20 years what we've done. And most with reservations and hesitation, I say that our efforts of interfaith harmony have been not only recognized and appreciated. 24th of April, a large, very well-recognized organization, charity organization, they were generous enough to award me a Compassion Award. That means on behalf of the mosque, whatever little service, humble service we did for PICNA, with PICNA and the mosque. So by and large, we've had that very positive effect, and we hope that these programs and services will grow. In fact, nothing is going to change in the neighborhood except that it'll transform the image, the shape, and the look of the place. We have a little house just on the parcel, small house, brick house, and we put a white, beautiful fence. So it just has changed the landscape completely. So with this nice, wonderful looking building, our greenery that we have, a soccer field already we have with 2 basketball courts, it's got landscaping, and Dan knows we're proposing a community garden So all of the people will gather there in sort of, and let me finally say, in creating harmony. We call it, for the last 7, 8 years, since Governor Nikki Haley, she started this. Every month, every year, month of January has been celebrated in Colombia as Interfaith Harmony Month, and we played our part in it, and the mosque has always had it. So all in all, we're really looking forward to not only changing the outlook and the image, transforming the image, also adding value to the properties there, and beautifying the place. We are truthful, and we will live by every word, live every promise that we made, and our record will show that. So we here request and appeal that special exception may be granted. If anyone in the neighborhood, for example, we recently met and we met with the principal, the new principal, will be absolutely welcoming and inviting our neighbors and to have sort of open houses and all that. And if anyone has an individual who has not met us or is not aware of that, will be sort of made comfortable. One last story, which is literally, and I told so many stories, and it's not public, so I can give it out. Town of Ermont, the former Mayor Hardy King, he copy-pasted an article which was negative to Islam and Muslims. Because of our record, interfaith leaders took exception to it. So bottom line is we didn't do anything negative. We invited him to the mosque. And the way we treated, the result was, when he asked him, he said, "Chaudhry, do your colleagues know what I've done?" I said, "Yes, that is why we invited you." The result was I asked him only one question. So, Mr. Mayor, would you co-host a program on Islam in your town hall? He did that, and that event was overflow, and the news went local, regional, and international. I rest my case.
Thank you, Mr. Sadiq. Let me, I want to ask a question. Yeah.
Could I ask the engineer a question, I think?
We have questions.
We have questions.
I just want to ask a question. So you're going, currently you've got 2 structures on there, 1,200 and 4,000 square feet, and you're building a 16,000 square foot building, correct? That's what you're trying to do?
The 16,000 plus minus is the main building, yes.
Is that replacing it or in addition to?
In addition to.
So you're going from 12,000 plus square feet to?
No, 4,000 and a 1,200, so 5,200, and then adding. What my question was getting to is like, that seems like it's just that's a nice sized building. So my question was going to be like, how many active participants do you have in your church?
Excellent question. As I said, the number has grown gradually, and that is what the natural growth of numbers. For example, we will have, at any given time on Friday services, we'll have 200 to 250 people. Okay. But this building will have an event hall where we can have the events, and it can cater for 400 to 500 people.
And when during the week, like what days of the week, and excuse my ignorance with Islam, but what days during the week will you have people
this is Friday. Our weekly service is on Fridays.
Fridays.
Fridays currently. So right now we have about 250 people, and it will gradually grow. And we have sufficient, we have 9-acre parcel, and according to Dan Wilson.
So Fridays are your big day, though?
Yeah, indeed. Everything is arranged, everything is peaceful. In fact, the law enforcement being our very active partners, they make arrangements, nice parking. School sometimes, it is positive. School sometimes they have events there, their traffic overflow comes into our area, and we'll do vice versa as well.
Okay. And I think I heard you correctly, but y'all have police like directing traffic on Fridays when you're there?
Yeah, we have 2 accesses, one on Windmet, one on Amberley, and it's just pretty smooth.
Okay.
No issues at
all. All right. I was just noticing the increase inside. What y'all had a question?
I think I got my question answered.
If I can only clarify, the programs that are going on, the building will be basically, we will be carrying on the same program in a more organized manner. And just like augmenting each component, for example, we have a Bible school, which is a Quran school. So it's now currently a smaller one. It'll go into this building. Secondly, interfaith friendship Interfaith and Friendship Center. We're going to have a proper center where more people can come and sort of ask about Islam and, the same compassion. Our Islam is love, mercy, and compassion. And we intend increasing this.
Well, yeah, I'll come back up. Do you have a question, Mr. Sherrod? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sadek. Yeah. You'll have a chance to come back up if somebody from the public speaks.
Thank you.
Could we go back to the picture on the big screen? You said the picture from the lot.
That one.
So, could you identify for us, just clarity for ourselves and for the public, where will this new structure be located on this image here that we're looking at?
It will, if you see the building where the place mark is and the blue patio southeast of it, that cleared area, which is basically a graded area, is more or less where the building will sit. Yes, yes.
Okay, so the structure that I'm looking at on the image on the screen, which has the Google Maps dot on it, behind that structure and that sand line is where this new location will go?
To the southeast of that structure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions before we ask anyone from the public to come speak? Okay.
Can I actually ask another question of the engineer?
Yeah, Mr. Creed.
On the site plan that you provided, on this aerial, the drive connects between Winmet and Amberley, but on the site plan, it doesn't necessarily appear that that connection would be maintained.
It will be maintained. It's, you can see it's the striping.
Right, it starts and then it sort of.
Yes, you can, you're correct. It's confusing the way it's striped. In that parking lot coming from Winmet would imply that there would not be connectivity. There's no improvements proposed in that area, so that connectivity will be retained.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, again, I'm Monica Woods. I'm a resident. I brought my home back in 1996, so I've been there over 27 years in this particular neighborhood. I'm not sure exactly where the entrance of this mosque would be. If it's on Glenthorne Road, that is because they property, I think, end at Glenthorne and Amberley, and part of Amberley too. Right now, it's down on the hill across from Alcon Middle School, which is fine. But if they come up that hill, now you're getting into residential areas. And I don't see that that would bring our value of our homes up. And also the noise, he said it was no noise, but sometimes they be out there till 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes you hear fireworks, different things, which is no problem now, but the further they come up is not good for our neighborhood. And also the traffic. They had something during school hours and the traffic was terrible, and they can have 200 cars out there in that property that's entering that property, and you cannot get out. On Winmet Drive, they have an interest there, and they have an interest on Amberley. They don't need an interest at Glenthorne Road.
I don't think they're proposing that.
Okay, that's my very concern.
This plan here
Yeah,
is still going to be coming up or
I
right
can't
across from Alcorn
read
Middle.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
The image, it's easier to see on the image than it is on this. I understand.
yeah,
It's hard to see on this.
so my only concern is Glenthorne Road and part of Amberley, because it's two houses that sits back there too. And we don't want to look out our house, out our windows and see a big building. It's wooded now. It's Northwood Hills. That's the name of the neighborhood, Northwood Hills. We don't want to look out our door and see a big building in our neighborhood. And that would be the case because I'm right there. I took a picture, if you know, I know y'all probably can't see it, but I took a picture before I left home at the stop sign. So if I was to look out my window, I would see their building if they come any further up or cut down trees and, you know, stuff like that. So that was my only concern. And it is a lot of traffic down there. And no, they don't have any police directing traffic when it is, you know, something going on down there. They don't have any police directing. You know, they haven't been, you know, terrible or anything like that, but sometimes it do get noisy, and sometimes they're out there till late hours in the night. I don't know, you know, what event that is, but sometimes they're out there till 11 o'clock or better or later. And so that's my only concern, the changing the outlook of our neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question, when I'm looking at this,
Mm-hmm.
the neighborhood you're in, is it at the top of the screen here on the other side of Windmill? Is that the neighborhood you're in there?
You're at Glenthorne and Amberley, sort of?
Glenthorne and Amberley.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the upper left
Top
corner.
left behind it,
top left,
this way.
yeah.
Over Glen, I see Glenthorne now.
Yeah, so, and, you know, all of Glenthorne, you know, I know they property sits on the back of Glenthorne Road, and, you know, and that's where our neighborhood start. So, and my husband cleaned up that area. I think he cleaned up some of their area, actually, the
So,
other day. He
I'm
cleaned
gonna-
up that road
Yes,
coming
ma'am.
up
I'm gonna
there
make
to
a
our
quick
neighborhood. So
comment.
we're, I'm sorry?
I'm gonna make a comment just because, and I don't mean to cut you off, but just because it's hard to see on the site plan and hard to see up here.
Yes.
But, and I might need Mr. Creed to confirm it, but just to address some of your concerns with the buffering. So the access, I mean, look, Windmet and directly across from Alcorn, but then they have on this site plan a 40-foot buffer yard around the entire property. So I.
What is a buffer yard? What is
It
that?
helps
Trees.
trees. There's
Trees.
got to be a buffer. They can't put anything in that area.
So
for the
they cannot
ordinance.
cut down any more trees, is what you're telling me?
It's a look. Well,
Well, they
that's-
can't cut, they have to leave a 40-foot wide thing of trees.
True.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty deep.
Well, there's a difference in buffering and screening, and so that's all right. Before I just, because I kind of cut you off, I'll give you another minute, and then.
Okay,
you know, but
so when you turn on Fairfield Road, off Fairfield Road onto Amberley, maybe a block down, you can turn on a property. That's down the hill. But once you start coming up that hill, you're in the neighborhood.
yeah,
And we don't want that to be, you know, we want it to stay like it is.
yeah.
Yeah. So them there is no problem. It's the placement of what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're here
And
to,
I'm
we're here to
familiar-
approve the use, not the official site plan. The site plan helps us approve the use, but so we're here to approve or deny the use specifically, and then leave it up to the city and staff to approve the site plan. So,
And I think it's actually the expansion of the use. Is that correct, Erica?
Is he expanding the
Right.
building that he already has?
Yes, there's the current use is there, but they are expanding it significantly, but in the other direction from your neighborhood. So, but so
Could
it's
you
the same
ask him,
use
is
that
that
they've been doing all
towards
along.
Fairfield Road, or that's
Yeah,
towards?
toward Fairfield
they-
Road.
Behind that structure with the red dot on it, see that big block of sand behind it? That's where the new building will go, so it'll be closer to Fairfield Road.
Yeah. And it's gonna be a.
do we have an extra
Can
one
we
of
get,
these?
can we get the picture of the elevation? Yeah, there you go. That's what you're gonna see from Fairfield Road. Can you see up there?
Okay, from Fairfield Road, not Glenthorne Road?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. Glenthorne or Amberley?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's
That is
my only
correct.
concern.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
gonna, otherwise, I think it's gonna look the same for you. This is what you'll see from Fairfield
Yeah,
Road,
we
which I
don't
think is
wanna
actually kind of nice looking, but.
Their property is very minimal that actually touches Glenthorne. There's a completely different property owner that occupies most of that block.
All right, thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you,
I appreciate
guys.
your concern, yep, thank you. All right, Mr. Sadek, do you want to come back up here you have 5 minutes between you and Mr. Creed if you'd like it.
Surely.
You don't have to use it all.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity again. Dan Creed will sort of confirm of any technical features, but I've been there almost. The mosque has been 20 years. I've been there 20 years, literally, and with all respect to our neighbor and friend, the lady. I've gone on Amberley and driven on Winmet, and I live on Winmet, but towards Glenthorne on Amberley, I don't think I've ever gone, except once when we were trying to clear that little area, so maybe once or twice. So none of our cars, it's not that it's forbidden, none of our cars goes beyond the entrance on Amberley that is towards Glenthorne or towards, none of us, absolutely. That's the matter of fact. I am highly grateful to her for pointing out sometimes late evenings, there is a little bit, late evening prayer ends about 10:30. Yes, once or twice we have celebrations, like we call Eid celebrations, one after Ramadan, the other around pilgrimage time, it's going to come up in a month. So we can have a community gathering. But we'll try to keep this is, kids and everybody there, and our neighbors are also welcome. So we'll try. We'll be very orderly. We are orderly because you have to take care of, everyone, the whole family. So noise level will be taken care of. Everything else happens in daytime, and in evenings it's only prayer. Our weekly service is on Fridays only, and that's daytime. So as far as traffic is concerned, Glenthorne, we hardly touch that area. We were talking about the buffer zone, you already explained. Now, landscaping is going to be further added. There's going to be more trees, more green. Yes, we did cut out some area in the beginning, but we have to augment that in order to meet the requirement of the landscaping department. So in all earnestness, we will try to not only keep the beauty, create the nature, or sort of, transform the nature, do nothing but improve the value as well as the outlook, or the look of the plane, as well as through our programs and services. Just one again, and forgive me if I seem to be lecturing sometimes, like all great faiths, Islam also, we attach so much importance to our neighbor relations, and our neighbors are 40 houses on the right, 40 on the left, 40 in the front, and 40 on the back. And if I mention to you the standards, the high standards to which we hold ourselves for neighbors, it's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, appreciate
By the way, I'm not a priest.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr.
I'm only
Sadek.
an activist, peace activist. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, we're going to close it up for the public, but board discussion. Who wants to start?
It seems to me that there's the one who asked to have it removed, I think that her concerns have actually been addressed, and it looks like this is going to be a real improvement to the site overall.
Yeah, and I do appreciate her. Yeah. I was just saying, I appreciate her asking to remove it off the consent agenda to the regular agenda, because that does not happen often. But if anybody ever has a concern, even one of us on the board, we need to do that. I mean, that's something that we're allowed to do, and it allows us to talk about it in a public setting and dive into it more. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the fact that she had a chance to see where the building is going to go, to know that it's on the opposite side of where her home is. And I also think that the construction plan thought about making sure that they weren't infringing on the neighborhoods around it by moving in areas where there's nothing developed. The building towards Fairfield Road really just eats up empty land that's not used. Opposite end of where the neighborhoods are on all sides, here and here. And so I'm in favor of this exception.
And it's parking that's encroaching in it's parking that's squeezing the buffer, so it's not, the building isn't.
Yeah.
Itself isn't slamming up against it.
Y'all want to add anything, or y'all good? Okay. All right, do we want to make someone want to make a motion?
Move that we approve subject to staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much. Yep, thank you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, they're adjourned. Thank you all.